The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, Sri Lanka witnesses a significant surge in foreign tourist arrivals this year, with the total number surpassing the 1.25 million mark. Keells elevates its new energy vehicle industry while proudly opening the doors of the BYD showroom and the service center in Colombo with the launch of a new plug-in hybrid vehicle. The Colombo Stock Exchange continues its upward trend, with today's trading session marking the fifth straight day of gains and demonstrating sustained positive sentiment. And in the year's most massive acquisition so far, Candy Titan Mars is set to purchase Kellanova for nearly $36 billion, marking a major milestone in the industry.
From Studio 24, here's Anuradhi Vikramasinghe.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us. Sri Lanka has witnessed a significant surge in foreign tourist arrivals this year, with the total number surpassing the 1.25 million mark. According to the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, a total of approximately 1,271,432 foreign tourists have visited Sri Lanka so far, highlighting the country's appeal as a top travel destination.
A large portion of this impressive figure is attributed to tourists from India, who make up the largest group of visitors. With 237,649 Indian tourists having travelled to Sri Lanka, India remains the leading source of international arrivals. In addition to Indian tourists, Sri Lanka has also attracted substantial numbers of visitors from several other key markets. Russian tourists have shown a strong presence, along with significant numbers from Britain, Germany, China and France. The ongoing recovery of global travel and the successful promotional campaigns by Sri Lanka's tourism authorities have played a crucial role in boosting these numbers. Notably, the momentum of tourist arrivals show no signs of slowing down, and in just the first 11 days of this month, 73,373 tourists have already visited Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's ability to attract such a diverse and growing number of tourists is a testament to its enduring allure and the efforts of the tourism industry to adapt and thrive in a competitive global market. As the year progresses, the total number of foreign arrivals is likely to rise even further, bolstering the country's economy and reinforcing its position as a premier travel destination in the region.
Sri Lanka's cabinet had discussed the delay in restarting online visas after courts suspended the controversial VFS Global deal, where tourists were charged high fees to go through the website, which the travel trade said was difficult to navigate.
The courts ordered that the earlier system operated by SLT Mobitel be restored. Until hearing of the case is complete, the Department of Immigration has not yet restored the system. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said the matter was discussed at this week's cabinet meeting and a discussion of minister secretaries was also arranged. He further added that the president also appointed a cabinet subcommittee to find a solution to this in a short time, and since he is also a member, they will solve this and inform. Public Security Minister Tidan Alas told reporters last week that since the Immigration Department's back-end platform been changed to match the VFS global system with the new visa categories, it would take time to go back to the old system. However, the biggest problem relates mainly to one category of visas, involving short-term tourist visas. Many tourists were finding the VFS global system difficult to navigate, especially the requirement to upload a passport photo in one format, where the specified size was being rejected, according to feedback from tourists. The VFS global site, which is also offline, seemed especially challenging for older visitors.
The Free Trade Zone Manufacturers Association has urged the Sri Lankan government to swiftly implement the proposed Asian Development Bank-funded container clearing yard in Keralapitiya to mitigate the online cargo delays at the Colombo port.
The facility, designed to handle 3,000 containers, was recommended in 2020 ADP study but is yet to secure the approval from the Finance Ministry. During a recent meeting between the Free Trade Zone Manufacturers Association and high-ranking officials of the Sri Lankan Customs, it was revealed that the Colombo port releases approximately 1,400 to 1,500 containers daily. However, SLC currently clears only about 600 containers or 45% of the total, which are distributed among 3 existing yards. However, SLC currently clears only about 600 containers, or 45% of the total, which are distributed among 3 existing yards: Grey Line 1 yard, Rank Container Terminal yard in Orugudavatta, and Grey Line 2 yard in Grand Pass. The facility, if approved, would offer 5 times the capacity of the current yards, potentially resolving an issue that costs millions of rupees daily and causes substantial delays in production schedules, particularly for the exporters operating under the Board of Investment. According to FTZMA Chairman Dhammika Fernando, the ongoing delays in clearing the cargo have also led to the vessels bypassing Sri Lanka, jeopardizing the delivery commitments to international brands and further damaging the country's economic reputation.
Let's take a short break now. Some continuing positivity from the Colombo Stock Exchange coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange shows no signs of turning back from the regained positive sentiment, as today's trading session marked the 5th consecutive day of gains. Both indices were in the green at the close of today's markets, indicating a sustained positive trajectory. For a summary of today's market performance, we now connect with Tarusha Ashogar from First Capital Holdings.
Yes, Anuradhi. So today the all-share price index surged over 100 basis points and closed positively at 11,531.31, marking its 5th consecutive sessions of gains. So similarly, the S&P SL20 index also experienced a sharp increase, gaining 43 points to close at 3,308.89. So the investor sentiment has displayed a shift towards optimism today, moving past the cautious approach as political uncertainties start to subside. Sampath Bank, Commercial Bank, Selinco Holdings, DFCC Bank and John Keells Holdings emerged as the top positive contributors to the index today. Accordingly, there was a revitalized interest in banking sector and food, beverage and tobacco sector as well. However, turnover experienced a slight decrease from yesterday's turnover and stood at LCAS 776.1 million, while number of trades improved to 9,000 levels compared to yesterday, indicating renewed retail sentiment. Moving on, top gainers for the day: SMB Finance Non-Voting, Orient Finance and Lanka Credit and Business Finance, while top losers for the day are Industrial Asphalts, SCMB Voting Share and Lanka Ceramic.
Gold prices gained today, helped by a weaker US dollar and treasury yields, as investors waited for more data to gauge the Federal Reserve's outlook for interest rates after a key inflation report dampened hopes for a larger cut in September. Spot gold was up 0.3% to $2,455.74 per ounce after prices fell the most since the 6th of August, and the US gold futures rose 0.6% to $2,493.30. Both the US dollar and benchmark 10-year treasury yields were subdued after hitting their lowest in more than a week in the previous session. Data yesterday showed that the US Consumer Price Index rose moderately in July, and the annual increase in inflation slowed to below 3% for the first time since early 2021. Oil prices edged higher today, buoyed by optimism that potential US interest rate cuts could boost economic activity and fuel demand. However, concerns over sluggish global demand, particularly in China, capped gains. Brent crude futures rose 0.21% to $79.93 a barrel, recovering some ground after Wednesday's losses. US West Texas Intermediate crude gained 0.27% to $77.19 per barrel. Both benchmarks had fallen more than 1% yesterday after U.S. crude inventories unexpectedly increased and tensions over a wider Middle East conflict eased. U.S. consumer prices rose moderately last month, with annual inflation falling below 3% for the first time in 3.5 years, raising expectations of a Federal Reserve rate cut next month. The Sri Lankan rupee has recently exhibited a positive trend, indicating signs of economic development within the country. To gain a deeper understanding of the factors contributing to the ongoing appreciation of the rupee, and also to discuss the potential outlook for its value by the end of the year, especially in light of Sri Lanka's upcoming debt repayment and restructuring efforts, we turn to Anjali Matthews from First Capital Holdings, who provides us with an in-depth analysis.
As we look at currency movements of the rupee against the dollar, we see significant improvements where the rupee has appreciated against the US dollar, recording 302.4 rupees against the US dollar at the end of July, compared to 299.3 rupees against the US dollar today, marking a 1% appreciation of the rupee month to date. And similarly, 323.9 rupees against the dollar was recorded in January, compared to 299.3 rupees against the US dollar recorded today, the 15th of August, displaying a 7.6% appreciation of the rupee year to date. The strengthening of the rupee against the dollar can be attributed to dollar purchases by the central bank, which has helped manage liquidity and stabilize the currency. And additionally, increased foreign remittances, improvements to the tourism industry, and increased confidence on the external debt restructuring process has contributed to the strengthening of the rupee. However, it is important to note that the Sri Lankan rupee might be affected by external pressures, such as an expansion in imports to drive consumer demand, as well as global conflicts where increases in oil prices will have a significant and adverse effect on the cost of imports and the trade balance in Sri Lanka, where in 2023, crude oil was 6.8% of total imports and fuel overall accounted for 28% of total imports into the country, displaying the country's dependence on fuel imports.
The Sri Lankan rupee remains steady against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today compared to yesterday. However, according to People's Bank, the buying and selling rates of the US dollar have dropped from 293 rupees and 85 cents to 293 rupees and 26 cents, and from 304 rupees and 39 cents to 303 rupees and 78 cents respectively. But at commercial bank, the buying and selling rates of the US dollar are unchanged at 293 rupees and 46 cents and 303 rupees and 25 cents respectively. Let's now take a look at the exchange rates against the other currencies. Short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. John Keells CG Auto, the authorized distributor for BYD passenger vehicles in Sri Lanka, proudly opened the doors of the BYD showroom and the service center in Colombo with the launch of the plug-in hybrid BYD Sea Lion 6 DM1. The grand opening ceremony held at the showroom situated at Union Place, Colombo 2.
The event was attracted by prominent dignitaries, including BYD Auto Industry Co. Limited General Manager of Asia Pacific Auto Sales Division, Chairperson of the John Keells Group Krishan Balendra, and CG Corp Global Managing Director Nirvan Kumar Chowdhury. Notably, the service center has been fitted out with unique BYD tools such as the vehicle diagnostic system, radar calibration system, and battery testing equipment which ensure precise maintenance. The workshop is also equipped with a 30 kW fast charger and a 7 kW wall charger for vehicles charging and testing purposes. Additionally, features include a temperature-controlled battery storage room, body and paint repair facilities, vehicle detailing, wheel alignment, brake bleeding, AC recharging, and comprehensive washing facilities. The company further ensures environmental compliance with the installation of an advanced water treatment plant and stringent fire safety protocols that meet all industry standards. The BYD Sea Lion 6 DMI, the first plug-in hybrid automobile launched in Sri Lanka, showcases the manufacturer's advanced electricity-based dual-motor intelligence plugged-in hybrid system. Supplemented by an engine for additional support, the BYD Sea Lion 6 DMI is distinguished by its high-power motor drive and large-scale capacity power battery as the main supply. Chairperson of the John Keells Group, Balendra, remarked that entering a new business is a decision taken with great care at John Keells, and they believe this industry will be a key sector in future.
A decision to go into a new business is not taken easily at John Keells, so it had to be a compelling reason. New energy vehicles, as I said, I think is going to be the next big thing, like the mobile phone and then the smartphone. In Sri Lanka in particular, because the distances are small, the charging infrastructure is not going to be as big a challenge and as big an issue as in countries like the US and in Europe. John Keells Group is very focused on environmentally friendly initiatives. The Sri Lanka as a country is focused on that. We have a lot of potential for solar power and wind power in particular. So with the transition to electric vehicles, we can reduce our oil import bill at a time when forex outflows are a big issue for the country.
Uswatha Confectionery Works Private Limited, one of Sri Lanka's oldest confectionery manufacturers with over 68 years offering high-quality confectionery delicacies and snack food, is thrilled to announce the revival of beloved potato chip brand Chirpy Chips.
The fun-filled snack is meticulously manufactured using pure potato and promises 100% food value in every bite. Chirpy Chips was first introduced in the market in 1994 but was discontinued due to the government policies at the time that placed restriction on the import of high-quality potatoes to the country. Chirpy Chips is a very affordable and very convenient snack option that is crafted to not only satisfy hunger but immerse consumers in the flavor of natural ingredients from very first bite. The chips are available in 3 flavors, which are cheese and onion, salted and hot and spicy, and come in multiple sizes including the 16 gram at 70 rupees, 24 grams at 100 rupees and 50 grams at 200 rupees, while the 73 grams at 300 rupees. Additionally, they are also the only brand of potato chip that will be available at local grocery stores and leading supermarkets. Chirpy Chips are powered by Uswatha's unparalleled dedication to manufacture of high-quality snack food that meet the highest international standard of taste and satisfaction. With the reintroduction of the Chirpy Chips brand, Uswatha is once again setting the benchmark for snack foods in Sri Lanka and delivering a product that combines both tradition and premium quality.
Janashakti Group is pleased to announce the appointment of Dilshan Veerasekara as Deputy CEO. With over 28 years of extensive experience in financial services and capital markets, Mr. Veerasekara brings his proven mastery to this new role, enhancing the group's leadership team.
Janashakti Group's recent strategic initiatives have significantly enhanced its financial performance and capital position, propelling sustained growth and solidifying its market leadership. With a clear vision for regional expansion, the group is poised to leverage its strong foundation, stability, and experienced leadership to achieve international success as a dynamic financial conglomerate. Dilshan Veerasekara, as Group Deputy CEO, aims to support this ambitious endeavour.
Maga Engineering Limited has secured the contract packages IR and IS for the Central Highway project, a significant achievement for the company. Recognized as the substantially responsive lowest bidder, Maga Engineering was selected based on the recommendations of the standing procurement committees.
These committees, appointed by the Cabinet, conducted a comprehensive evaluation process which led to the decision. The Central Highway project, essential for enhancing the country's transport infrastructure, has been divided into 19 construction packages under its third phase. Out of these, 17 packages have already been awarded to various contractors. The remaining IR and IS packages were open to the competitive bidding among local construction companies, with Maga Engineering emerging as the top contender. The proposal to award these contracts to Maga Engineering was presented by Transport and Highways Minister Bandula Gunawardena and subsequently approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. This contract win further solidifies Marg Engineering's position as a leader in the construction industry.
Let's take a short commercial break. Global updates right after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Asian markets mostly mirrored positive strides on Wall Street in early trade today as easing U.S. consumer inflation buoyed hopes that a big interest rate cut was around the corner and economic growth in Japan outpaced expectations. Positive growth figures from Japan meant the Nikkei 225 led the Asian surge as the world's fourth largest economy reported a better than expected GDP rise of 0.8% for the second quarter. The news came a day after Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said he would step down next month. But news from China was not as bullish while industrial production slowed and consumer spending ticked up. On Wall Street now, U.S. stocks closed higher as the latest inflation data reassured investors betting the Federal Reserve would start cutting interest rates next month.
U.S. stocks closed higher Wednesday as the latest inflation data reassured investors betting the Federal Reserve would start cutting U.S. interest rates next month. The Dow gained 0.6%. The S&P 500 climbed about 0.4 to finish up for the fifth session in a row, and the Nasdaq rose a hair. The Labor Department reported U.S. consumer prices rose moderately in July, and the annual increase in inflation slowed to below 3% for the first time since early 2021. The odds of a 25 basis point interest rate cut by the Federal Reserve rose to 65%. While the other 35% still see a larger 50 basis point reduction, according to CME's FedWatch tool. Stocks on the move included Google parent Alphabet, which lost 2.3% after a media report said that the U.S. Department of Justice is considering options that include breaking up the online search giant. The report comes a week after a judge ruled the tech company illegally monopolized the online search market. Kellogg's spin-off company Kellanova added nearly 7.8%, and Charles Schwab added about 4.6%, after the broker posted solid account growth in July.
In the year's biggest deal to date, candy giant Mars is buying Kellanova for nearly $36 billion. The deal is a bet on consumers continuing to indulge in branded snacks and comes as packaged food companies face stalling growth.
Two of the largest candy and snack brands are now teaming up, as family-owned candy giant Mars announced on Wednesday that it is buying Cheez-It maker Kellanova for nearly $36 billion. The acquisition puts well-known snack foods from M&M's and Snickers to Pringles and Pop-Tarts under the same roof, in one of the biggest deals in the industry. The news comes as the U.S. packaged food sector is seeing robust deal-making, as companies seek scale to weather the impact of consumers shifting to cheaper private label brands. In an interview with Reuters, Mars CEO Paul Wyrock said the combined company would hold prices steady amid still inflationary times. In addition to prices, investors worry about a decline in sales due to the greater adoption of weight loss drugs such as Ozempic and Wegovy. Legal experts have told Reuters that the acquisition, which dwarfs Mars's $23 billion takeover of Wrigley in 2008, is not expected to face too many antitrust roadblocks due to the limited product overlap. Shares of Kellanova rose more than 7.5% in Wednesday afternoon trading.
Japan's economy grew at an annualized 3.1% in the second quarter, exceeding expectations and rebounding from an early year slump due to strong consumption, bolstering the case for a near-term interest rate hike.
Japan's economy bounced back from a slump at the start of the year, expanding faster than expected in the second quarter. That's thanks to a strong pickup in consumer spending. It helped support the case for another near-term hike in interest rates by the Bank of Japan. Government data out Thursday showed the country's GDP grew 3.1% in the April to June period compared to last year, beating expectations. Private consumption, which accounts for more than half of Japan's output, rose for the first time in over a year by 1%. It had been a soft spot in the economy, though. The country's households have been struggling with the rising cost of living. That's been blamed at least in part on higher import prices because of a weak yen. That same weak currency has seen a surge of tourism, giving retail sales at businesses like Uniqlo a boost. However, rising living costs was one of the factors that prompted Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to announce this week that he plans to resign. Now, analysts say the consumption rebound after more than a year is likely to encourage the central bank to push for the rate hike later this year. Last month, the BOJ raised interest rates to levels not seen in 15 years. It also detailed a plan to slow its huge bond buying in another step toward phasing out Japan's decade of massive monetary stimulus. The bank has forecast that a solid economic recovery will help inflation sustainably hit its 2% target and justify raising interest rates further.
And that marks the conclusion of today's nightly business report. We'll see you again tomorrow with the latest happenings around the business world. Until then, I'm Anuradhi Vikramasinghe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.